Finding good takedown boots can be difficult, but what's even more rare is finding a takedown model that can rival its premium counterpart. And with the third tier Predator League, Adidas may have done just that. While this $80 boot is quite different from the $260 Predator Elite, I actually find it to be a worthy alternative. So in this video, I'm going to break down all of the features of the Predator League to help you see if it's going to be a good option for you. And at the end of the video, if you're interested in picking up a pair, I'll leave links below in the description where you can find them on sale with a discount. So to kick things off, let's talk about the design. So from an aesthetic point of view, these actually look strikingly similar to the Predator Elites that come in at nearly triple the price. And the features on the Predator League also bear very similar names to the more premium counterpart. For example, you're going to have a hybrid feel upper instead of the hybrid touch that's on the Elite version, and you're going to have strike scale elements as opposed to the strike skin that's on the $260 boot. But it's only when you're holding these boots in your hand that you can tell that they're really different than that premium version. And most of that difference is going to come down to the upper. It has a much more slick feel to it compared to the Predator Elite that almost has a rubber sticky upper. And while the Predator Elite has a smooth homogeneous texture to the upper, the hybrid feel that's on the Predator League is actually covered in these small dotted elements. While they can be pretty hard to see up close in the camera, you can definitely hear them just by rubbing your finger over the boots. And overall, this upper just feels considerably more thin compared to the Predator Elite. And that was actually a pretty big surprise for me because with the Predator Elite, you have a pretty thick, sturdy feeling upper. So my expectation was getting this third tier takedown model that was actually going to be just as thick, if not even thicker than the more premium version. But it's actually surprisingly minimal and really flexible. And then compared to the Predator Elite, where you're going to have those rubber fins on the strike skin, with the third tier takedown, they're actually just going to be embedded into the upper with this plastic texture, so they're not going to be quite as sticky and they're not made of that rubber material. Instead, they're just a ridged element that's going to give you a little bit more traction on your strikes. And then the lacing system also looks pretty similar to what you would find on the Predator Elite at first, but upon closer inspection, it actually takes slightly more of a U-throat design, whereas the lacing system on the Predator Elite came to a point in a more aggressive V-shape. And I think that design choice actually works out in favor for the takedown model here, because with that slightly less aggressive U-shaped design, I feel that the upper feels a little bit more open towards the toe box area and is a little bit less cramped at the front of the boot. And then at the back of the boot, the Predator League is going to feature nearly an identical sole plate to what you see on the more expensive version. You've got these pretty sharp triangular studs that are definitely going to be best for use on firm ground natural grass. But if you tend to mostly play on turf or artificial grass, you can find those variations from Adidas if you look online. And then this sole plate tooling is going to be really snappy, giving you almost no bend whatsoever in the midfoot, and then just a little bit of snap towards the toe box. Next up, let's talk about how these boots fit. So overall, I was actually really impressed by the fit and the feel of the Predator Leagues. And while I really did like the Predator Elites when I first tried them on, there were a couple things that just made them not quite my cup of tea. They felt a little bit too narrow in the toe box for me as they tapered quite aggressively, and the upper was just a little bit thicker than what I would normally want. But surprisingly, with the Predator League here, I'm actually getting a thinner upper and a little bit more space in the toe box. And because the upper on the Predator Leagues here is slightly thinner as well, you're going to get the sensation of having a little bit more volume inside the football boot. So if you are a player that has slightly wider feet, I definitely think these are going to be a decent option for you. And as I mentioned, I think that the toe box feels a little bit more spacious than the premium version as well, and that's partially due to the fact that you're going to have this more U-throat design here with the lacing system, as opposed to the V-shaped design that you have in the premium version. And after I got the boots laced up, I didn't have any pressure points or pain points at any part of my foot. Now, if I were to pick out one thing that could be improved regarding the fit of these boots, it is something that Adidas has occasionally struggled with in the past, and that's the lockdown in the heel area. I think that the heel could maybe just be a little bit deeper, potentially with a slightly extended collar, just to make sure that you're going to get a lot of security in that ankle and heel area. However, it's really not that big of an issue. All you have to do is just make sure that you tie the final lace hole here really tight to make sure that you're not going to have any slipping around the ankle region. And as far as the length goes, I got these in my standard 10.5 US, and that was definitely the best fit for me. So if you are looking at picking up a pair, I would definitely recommend going true to size. Next up, let's talk about what these were like to play in. So based off the differences in the design and the fit of these boots, it's not surprising that they also feel pretty different to play in compared to the Elite version. And the biggest thing that really stood out to me is just the fact that you're going to have a slightly closer touch and feel on the ball with the Predator Leagues here, just because of that thinner upper. And personally, that's something I like, because when I'm wearing a pair of football boots, I want to have that sensitivity and responsiveness that you get from a relatively thin upper. And then also another thing I noticed is that the upper on the Predator League is going to be a lot less sticky. It's not going to have the same rubber feel from the Predator Elite, and that means the ball isn't going to stick quite aggressively when you're dribbling or shooting. Now, whether or not that's something you like, it's going to all come down to personal preference. Personally, I like to have a football boot with a slightly more matte finish that doesn't grip the ball too closely, but if you're a player that does like to have a lot of that added grip, then the Elite version is definitely going to be a bit more sticky. But all of that being said, if your focus is on getting a little bit more grip for hitting curved shots, these elements here that are raised on the instep of the boot are definitely going to help you with getting a little bit more traction. And another thing I really like about the Predator League is that traditional lacing system, and when I was playing, I found that it was really adjustable, so I did end up loosening them a decent amount towards the toe box and midfoot area, keeping them a little bit more tight towards the ankle. And after close to an hour of playing, I didn't notice any pain or pressure points towards the toe box or towards the heel area, which can sometimes be an issue in takedown boots. And overall, these were a lot of fun to play in. If I could just make one improvement, it would be the same thing that I said regarding the fit and feel, and that's just for the heel area to be a little bit deeper, just to give you that slight added sense of security and lockdown. Next up, let's talk about the value of these boots. So the Adidas Predator League is currently retailing for about $85. And honestly, in the current market, that's a pretty fair price for a third-tier takedown boot. But keep in mind the Predator is a relatively new model, so over the coming months, we likely will see this boot discounted. But at $85, it's still going to be one of the cheapest boots in Adidas' entire lineup. And considering how well Adidas did to maintain the look and feel of a Predator model with this boot, I think that $85 retail price is pretty fair. Now, if I thought this boot was just a total afterthought from Adidas and they didn't put any time into the design or making it comfortable, then I probably wouldn't recommend it even for $85. But I honestly think that this boot shows that Adidas is putting a little bit more thought and consideration into their takedown models. Because believe it or not, there are some other great options under the $100 price point, so brands really have to be on top of their game when they're coming out with these takedown models. And speaking of other boots in this price range, let's talk about some competitors. So these days, you're able to find takedown models from all the biggest brands that usually will retail for around the $70 to $80 price point. And over the past few months, I've been able to try on a lot of these boots, and some of them are quite impressive. So if you're looking for a boot that has a slightly thicker upper and is going to offer you a little bit more protection, I would recommend checking out the Tiempo Legend 10 Academy from Nike or the Copa Pure 2.3. Those boots are both really comfortable, and they're going to offer you a thicker, slightly more padded feel on the ball if that's what you're looking for. But if you like the minimal style of the Predator League here, then I would also suggest looking at the Mercurial Vapor 15 Academy. And it's funny because I actually found the Predator League here to be surprisingly similar to the Vapor 15 Academy, despite the fact that the Predator Elite and the Vapor 15 Elite are pretty different boots. And I'd say that for me, the Vapor 15 Academy and the Predator League here are going to be pretty much neck and neck when it comes to performance, so the boot that you prefer is probably going to depend on which one you like more aesthetically. Additionally, if you're a fan of the features that you're only going to get with the Predator, like these textured elements on the upper, then this could definitely be the way to go. So what are my final thoughts on the Adidas Predator League? Well, if you are a big fan of the Predator series and you want to pick up a pair, but you're shopping on a budget and the $260 Elite version is a little bit out of your price range, then I don't think you'll be disappointed at all picking up this $80 version. It's still a great boot that's going to deliver on all of the Predator features that you're looking for, and depending on your own preferences, you might actually prefer it to the more expensive version. And most importantly, they're a comfortable pair of boots that are going to give you adequate lockdown, good traction on the pitch, and a nice clean touch on the ball. And having tried on dozens of takedown boots over the past year, I can definitely say that these were one of the more impressive pairs. And that is going to do it for this video. So let me know in the comments below if you've gotten a chance to try out these boots and what you think of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.